All right, seeing no other questions, let's go on to the technology report.
So the technology report tonight summarizes the one-to-one initiative after the first year of implementation in the freshman core classes. And we're providing information on the same areas we have in the past, so infrastructure, financing, communication, student-run help desk, professional development, and assessing the technology implementation, not only in the one-to-one environment, but for the entire school and all of the teachers as well. So I will turn it over to Mike, who will begin with the infrastructure.
So this summer we're planning on doing upgrades of our existing access points. Currently we're in a mixed environment of wireless N and wireless AC. So after the summer we'll have all of them at wireless AC. What that gives us is faster speed, and we'll be able to connect more devices to each access point, which is in every classroom and in various spots around the school. The following summer, we plan on upgrading our wireless access controller, which, just like it sounds, it controls all the access points that we're going to be installing this year. Currently, we're at about 90% capacity, and as we get further and further into the one-to-one, we seem to keep on finding more creative ways to use the Chromebooks, and we're going to have to expand some locations to have more access points. The next thing we're talking about is the finance and funding. This spreadsheet was originally it was created last year in March when we did our projections on revenue and expenditures. As you can see, this year we were about $7,200 over what we originally projected. The majority of that was because we were not able to use the Title I funding this year as we expected. We were able to offset some of those that lost the revenue with some savings on some of the other expenditures. So with this in mind, our new projections for next year, we're going to be about $2,000 less than what we originally thought 2 years down the road, based on our experience so far with the one-to-one. And now we're ready for the year in review.
As far as year in review, starting with communication, Chromebooks were distributed at residency last summer, and parents and students were able to watch an informational video to let them know what expectations we had with those Chromebooks, and that's where they signed their Chromebook user agreement also. We also held throughout the year a parent technology series where on a monthly basis Bridget was available to, during the first semester, support parents and students of the one-to-one initiative and bring forth topics like the expectations, all of the orientation modules that we did for the freshman class we made available to parents, put that online, answered any questions that parents might have had about what their students were doing here so that parents were aware, as well as sessions on Skyward Schoology, Google Chrome extensions, all to support student learning so that parents could help their students maximize their one-to-one environment experience. Parents also received drop-in technology support at both open house and parent-teacher conferences. And then we were able to, like I said, update all of the presentations we gave throughout the year, both to students and parents, as a quick link under our technology link on our website for parents who may have missed the actual in-person sessions or wanted to be able to go in and have some questions answered. And then as far as communication for the summer, we sent communication out to families to let them know what the summer procedures are. What happens if a Chromebook breaks during the summer, where they can come to get that fixed, and how they would receive any sort of technical assistance that wasn't necessarily hardware related.
All right, so this was the first year of the student-run help desk, and things went really well. You can see in the report that we helped at least 118 students. That's self-reported by our students who run the help desk, so that's the bare minimum. And the majority of our clients were freshmen, and the majority of the problems we faced were Chromebook problems. So we've gotten some good information about where we need to go for next year and how we are going to plan for having 2 different classes in the one-to-one environment. Professional development, you can see that we offered a variety of PD for teachers, both on-site and offsite, as well as in a digital environment. So really trying to give teachers a lot of opportunities to enhance their skills. And then something very exciting this year, as far as assessing technology, we gave all students and staff the Bright Bites survey. And the purpose of that survey is to measure the impact of technology on teaching and learning. And we found out some really good information. If you take a look at the chart, there's 4 different areas: classroom, access, skills, and environment. And in our first year ever of collecting data and our first year ever of being a one-to-one district and only having 1 grade level be one-to-one, we are in a phenomenal spot. We are currently at a 1090, which is proficient. That's our overall score for the entire school. And if we filter out just for the freshmen, we actually are over the proficient level, and we are into the 1100s, which is where you get into the advanced, and we're at an 1107 for our freshmen. So we're really looking good. You can see in the report the comparisons nationally and the comparisons to districts that are in this area, which is called West 40. Probably my favorite thing out of all of the data is to see that we are at a point where 87% of our teachers are interested in learning more about how to use technology in the classroom. And I think for our first year of a one-to-one implementation, that's a great place to be. And you can see through the framework, 3 out of the 4 areas we're already advanced in, and this is the whole school. This isn't just freshmen. This is the entire school that you're looking at here. So I think we are in a solid position to go forward and really keep providing great educational opportunities for the students with technology. It's good news. It's really good news.
Excited.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's nice to actually see the data. You know, you have a hunch about something, about what the strengths are and the areas for improvement, and it's nice to actually get real data to kind of back up what our plans are for next year.
So sitting in the role as the Instructional Technology Coordinator, a year from when we first started this one-to-one, are we doing things the right way? Are we supporting you enough? Is there more we can be doing?
Yeah, we definitely are heading in the right direction. I would always say more embedded professional development for teachers is always at the forefront. Something that came out of this survey is that teachers need a minimum of 14 hours of high-quality professional development to feel comfortable completing a certain task. So, for example, implementing technology. So I would always just encourage as many embedded opportunities as possible for teachers.
Okay.
Did you get student feedback? What did they say about it?
Sure, their results were similar to the teachers. We probably had about 1,200 students respond, so definitely enough to get statistical significance. And across the board, pretty much the same types of results. So what's holding true for the students is holding true for the teachers. I would say the students actually are they're rating things a little bit higher than the teachers are, which I thought was good. That's good to see.
Bridget, do you want to share some of the student responses in our Clarion?
Yeah, sure. So in the last issue of the Clarion, one of the nice little features was Man on the Street, and a reporter went around and asked freshman students, how have Chromebooks affected your learning experience? And some of the nice responses were improving research skills, making information gathering easier, and teachers have become more interactive with their students. So we definitely are seeing the technology being used in the classroom, and the hope is to see it being used more and more to help students connect with outside information and really start collaborating and creating.
I have a question for you on parent engagement, and I might have missed it, but do we have any measures as to, how many? I happen to be a parent of a freshman, and I have to admit I didn't watch any videos. I didn't do anything all year. Am I in the minority, or are there lots of people who somehow, you're able to keep track that they are engaging?
So we had under 80 parents who responded to the survey, and I haven't fully analyzed that data. I would say, though, that you are not in the minority.
I didn't mean that as, I was hoping I was.
However, I do think that a lot of, the sense that I get is that most parents feel pretty comfortable with what's going on and feel like there at least is the space for them to ask the questions that they need to have answered. For example, through PACT, through student-teacher or parent-teacher conferences. And I actually think the lack of questions that we've been getting speaks to the communication that the administration and district did the year before.
So given a successful program for the first year out, what would you do to improve the incoming freshmen?
So, okay. So the freshman students themselves, we have reviewed the freshman orientation and made changes to that based on last year's feedback. So that's taking care of the students themselves. We also have ways that we're going to tweak the help desk a little bit as far as the training and the opportunities that we allow for those help desk students. For my role, really, I'm focused mostly on the teachers because I feel like that, of course, then trickles down to our students. So what our teachers know, our students know. So based on the Bright Bites survey results, I'm really going to be focusing on three main areas. One is providing professional development on advanced technology skills. Teachers were able to choose from a list of about 20, 25 things that they felt they needed help with. So I'm going to be running specific professional development on those advanced skills. I'm also going to be advocating for teachers to become independent users of technology. That's one of the things that I kind of learned through this survey. Our teachers need a little bit of help creating a professional learning network on their own. And then also the one place where we're emerging, which is exactly where I would expect us to be, but the use of the 4 C's, that's a model that talks about using technology to create, collaborate, communicate, and critically think. And so I'm really going to be focusing on those 4 areas with teachers next year. And I think that's going to help take us from where we're in the first year of implementation and everybody's getting used to this to really kind of moving up to the next level.
What about, so parents watching this know that Ed didn't watch the video, but parents watching this too is if in the summer there's a breakdown with their Chromebook, where do they go?
It's a Mikey question, right?
Yeah, they'll just bring it to the front office, and then the front office will get a hold of one of us, and we'll come get it, and we'll contact the student through email when it's repaired.
Now, I know that when I went to Leighton, the student-centered help desk also was tagged in with 4 different areas of expertise that, 4 different areas that the student would do for certification. You know, either develop their own app, to build a computer, you know, develop a website. Are we trying to eventually looking at that, or?
I think that's the ideal goal. We've definitely had staff members who have shown interest. I think the main difference between Leiden's help desk and ours is theirs is part of a class, and so they have a certified staff member available every period of the day to assist in working towards those certifications and working on the other projects. But
Okay.
That's a dream, absolutely.
Okay.
My dream, at least.
Any other questions? Okay, Tim?
I would suspect, based on what you're saying, it's going to be a lot easier for the freshman teachers to be doing this the second year. How are we preparing the sophomore teachers to be prepared for now advanced students with the equipment coming in, them teaching it for the first time?
Yeah, so most of the sophomore teachers, well, all of the sophomore teachers in core classes receive summer curriculum hours to work on that curriculum and think about how they want to integrate technology. I am running drop-in sessions, the first part of which will be a mini workshop for the basics of what those sophomore teachers need to know as far as implementing one-to-one with students who have already been in that environment. And then in the fall, probably mid to end September, once those sophomore teachers have had a chance to have a couple of weeks in that environment, I'm going to be running a day-long workshop specifically geared to those teachers and their needs.
And I would say at least a quarter of the sophomore teachers that will be in a one-to-one environment were in a one-to-one environment this year with freshmen. So we'll be able to utilize them as a resource because they'll have 2 years under, or will be in their second year.
But is the administration, I mean, you know which teachers will be doing this for the first year, and you've got them tagged so they are prepared to do it? And do we feel like all the freshmen and teacher were engaged in this year?
Absolutely.
All right. you explain what the 3 Cs are, but what are the 3 Ps? You use a lot of codes on here.
Which
Under
one is it?
environment.
That's a good question. I actually don't know what that one is. I really focused on the ones that were in the proficient or the emerging for right now. We just got this data back in maybe 2 weeks ago or so. So there's so much to explore. I wanted to look mostly at where I thought we could use some improvement. So I can look it up though and have someone contact you if you want.
In this survey, or, you know, you can just whenever Kristen could tell us, or Kevin or somebody, but the couple of questions that you chose to list here, the responses are very subjective. Is the survey also objective? Do we have, this is a survey, I mean, so we got a high score, but does that mean we really can be very confident that our first year use of this was at a very high level, or is it just people are excited about it, so they scored us high on some subjective questions here? I mean, if I'm doing it right, I mean, RB staff members said they strongly agree technology use in the classroom can enhance student learning. That's wonderful, but it doesn't objectively show we're doing that. Or they also said they want to learn more about effective technology used for teaching and learning. Another wonderful thing, but it doesn't say we actually were performing well on either of those in the past year. So that's, maybe those aren't tied exactly, but I'm just curious.
It's more, having taken the survey myself, it's subjective in nature to kind of gauge the user's experience of what's happening. And so while this is subjective data, in the meantime, until we can get some more concrete data, since we've only been in it a year for the purposes that you're talking about, that's what we have to go on at this point. And as we move further into the one-on-one initiative, we'll be able to get some more concrete data when we start looking at how is this impacting student achievement, growth propensity, and we can start looking through ECRA once we have a few more years in with that. But at this point, you're right, it is subjective data right now to kind of gauge experience.
Is there any way to objectively determine whether it was successful as far as student improving performance for the first year? Because you said in a few years, which
Well,
I'm not surprised, it's going to take some time to know it fully, but.
Right, and I think what it will depend on is once we get some additional EPAS data, once we see a little bit more from our freshman students, how they perform at the sophomore level. So when we give them, when we look at our current freshmen, how they score as sophomores, and we see what their positive or negative growth is compared to years past, we'll be able to take a look more objectively if we can see higher than expected growth, or more positive growth in that freshman class having had the one-to-one experience in comparison to previous freshman classes that didn't have that experience. So we will be able to, as soon as next year, start to get some data about that when we have some more testing data for those students and they progress through their testing cycle.
Any other questions on this side?
Did you want to say something, Kristen?
Yes, the 3Ps stand for policies, procedures, and practices.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right, anybody on this side? Okay, seeing none, are you going to talk about, or you did talk already about the 2016, 2017, what you're going to do?
Yeah.
A couple of things that we didn't, pretty much everything in that 2016-17 part was covered through just the question part. We just want to reiterate that we are going to be offering the same opportunities at residency for parents. We've refined that a little bit so that parents, we can sort of streamline the process. The video will be on a loop this time so that parents can come in and they don't have to start from the beginning, and they'll get their expectations and their regulations projected on a large screen in a separate space rather than sitting with the headphones. That took a little bit of time, so we're trying to streamline that process. And we're also making our form that we hand out to families with usernames and passwords a little clearer. We've modified it to clarify exactly the steps that go through based on some feedback that we got last year. And then in terms of moving forward with that help desk, to your point about the question with Leiden, Ryan Chidora has really been leading the help desk, and he is continuing to recruit students. He's going to do that at residency, and once he receives applications for students who are interested in being a part of the help desk, he'll run some of that training. And he's very, very excited and very eager to continue developing the help desk more and giving the students more and more opportunities to really work with the technology to enrich themselves as well as offer a service for our own students.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Great job,
President.
everybody. Thank you.
Great job, honestly, very good.
Bridget, nice job.
Thank you.
Kristen, good leadership with that group.
All right, let's
Mike,
move.
stay on budget.
Yeah, please. I know when Mike's presenting, he's in a suit, I know he's presenting.
So did you plan to present that when Gary wasn't here?
No.